Dinosaurs are living amongst us. No, I'm not talking about boomers. I'm talking about the scaly monsters that an old fart brought back from the dead back in 1993. And it's gonna take nostalgia, original characters to help contain the problem. Do you like requels? Well, grab some popcorn and get ready for a bunch of scientific jargon on a James Bond adventure in Jurassic World, something beginning with D. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. That's right, we have the third film in the Jurassic World trilogy, and the sixth film I think we're up to for the Jurassic World franchise, so let's get straight into it. This film is directed by Colin Trevorrow, who directed the first Jurassic World film. They got him back because obviously they had to get rid of the other guy who directed that other piece of shit. In this film, dinosaurs are now roaming the world freely amongst humans and other animals. However, there's an evil corporation, a scientific company that has an obvious James Bond villain-esque hideout, a compound in the mountains somewhere, have a bunch of dinosaurs that they're using for scientific purposes, or study, if you will. And it's all ran by an obvious James Bond-esque villain here who's a cross between Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs. The company is called Biosyn. That's right. Biosyn. Bio, which is short for biological, and syn...
A little on the nose, don't you think?
As subtle as a sledgehammer. Turns out that there's these freakishly large, mutated locusts that are obviously created in a lab that are attacking food supply like crops and stuff. Yeah, the food supply for the human race. Someone's been paying attention. But of course, these mutated locusts are destroying every crop except for the ones that are fertilized by Biosyn. Probably nothing to be concerned about. Look away, people, look away. Look, a mean tweet! Attack! But Ellie Sattler's having none of it. She rounds up some original characters from the first film because the studio wanted to actually make some money on this film. To investigate the problem. Simultaneously, we check on the other characters from the Jurassic World films. First of all, we check in with Bryce Nepotism Howard, who's risking her life to save a baby Triceratops puppet. Chris Pratt is wrangling up stray dinosaurs via horseback, being the manliest man that ever manned, just to piss off the wokies. And Clone Wars has been adopted by the aforementioned two characters, and all three of them are living off the grid, under the radar because they're fugitives. Blue from the previous two installments here rocks up to show Chris Pratt that she has a baby Blue of her own. But it's not long before Clone Wars and Baby Blue gets kidnapped by some hired redneck mercenaries. And it's up to Chris Pratt and not Jessica Chastain to track them down. Everyone's path inevitably leads them to Biosyn, where they all must team up to escape the compound because of course things have gone tits up. But not before Chris Pratt and Lady in the Water can have an awesome, excellent, action-packed chase through the streets of a city that's straight out of a James Bond movie. We even get a faux version of the T-Rex escape scene from the original film, but here it's with the Giggity-saurus. The film runs at just under 2.5 hours, and it felt like it. I really got over it before the end. I did praise the film at one stage while watching it because it took its time to sort of build the story and the characters, and it's about an hour before we even get our first action scene, which sort of reminded me of the original film. But then it lumbers into an action scene, popping up, action, then going away, action, then going away, rinse and repeat for the last 45 minutes of the film. Feeling like a shortened, watered-down version of the 1993 movie. Much like how Alien Covenant was a watered-down version of the entire first Alien film. It almost felt like there was too many stories going on and subplots simultaneously all at one time. Like the writers had a bunch of different stories they could have gone down and the studio said, all of them! The climax, of course, leads to a three-way throwdown between the T-Rex, the Gigantosaurus, and a massive sloth fucking chicken. I don't think there's anywhere you could really go with this franchise anymore. Let's wrap this up, guys. I think that's it. Rumour has it that this is the last one, until the next one, I guess. It does suffer from a pretty shitty script with a lot of scientific jargon. And it all feels really convoluted. It just seems like they've got to keep upping the ante with the science of it all. It also felt like there was way too many characters, and side characters that just pop up and then just disappear, never to be seen again. Who knows, maybe they'll get their own streaming show on a streaming service somewhere, because you've got to create that content! Speaking of the script before, I'm getting really over quippy, quirky dialogue that sounds like it's straight out of a Gilmore Girls episode. Seems like that's the only way that writers know how to write characters in big blockbusters these days. They're all like self-aware, quippy, jokey people who are too scared to have a real emotion. because that might make you sad for a little bit. Can't have that! The only chuckles in the cinema that I was in was, of course, all the dialogue that was delivered by Jeff Goldblum, because it's Jeff Goldblum. By the end of the film, I just didn't care. I wanted them to wrap it up, and it just felt too long. The film didn't make me upset, nor did I love it. It just happened. Also, there's a twisty twist where we discover a little bit of an origin or something about a certain character in the film. I don't want to spoil it for you people, but let's just say the writers have obviously been reading up on the origin story of Marvel's America Chavez. It seemed like a third-wave femo's wet dream. Literally. There's a fair bit of puppetry in the film, which is, of course, welcomed and good to see. You could tell it was puppetry, though. I don't know if that was on purpose, as a tip of the cap, or it's just the fact that digital cameras have gotten so good in quality that you can see flaws. Either way, the effort was appreciated. There was a lot of winks and nods and tip of the caps to the original 1993 film, but for some reason it just didn't excite me. It just felt forced. I have to admit, though, that when Alan Grant popped up on screen, his introduction, he had the original Jurassic Park theme playing underneath him, and I've got to admit, it did tickle the nostalgia balls. However, they didn't use that theme enough. They use it subtly a few times in the movie, and that's it. I mean, this is one of the greatest themes ever written by John Williams. I mean, you should be playing that under every scene constantly. It's such a good score. All in all, this film felt like a mix of The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and a James Bond movie, oddly enough. But that's it, guys. That's my review of Jurassic World. I think it's called Dominion. Who fucking cares? Yeah, it was a film, and it's gonna sell a lot of tickets, I suppose, but it's not anything to really rave about. But anyway, guys, write down below, what's your favourite Jurassic installment from the original trilogy, and of course these new ones. I'd love to hear it. And of course, if you've made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up, because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon, because we give out episodes weekly, and we'll see you back here next week for the next review, and until then, stay spooky, kids.